and welcome to SVU Sister Sundays, where every Sunday we pick a new Law & Order SVU episode to compare to the real life case.
Yeah.
And this week we will be discussing Season 10, Episode 19.
19. I couldn't remember.
And it's called Selfish. This is the case of Casey Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
See, last week we did Harvey Weinstein, which Carly wanted to go out of our way to do because she has a special little for Harvey, and I've got a special little for Casey. So, we went ahead and skipped around and went to this video. So, without further ado, darling, the case.
The case.
And we're going to let Carly go ahead and explain you the case.
Car smells like there's been a dead body in it. I haven't seen my kid either with my granddaughter in all those days, and there's something super duper wrong. And SVU's like, okay, well, let's talk to your daughter and figure out where your granddaughter is. The daughter says, well, I dropped her off with the babysitter 4 days ago. She's not missing. And
yeah,
that was pizza in the trunk. That wasn't a dead body. You guys are cray.
Yep.
So all we got to do is go to Maria Hernandez. It is her
yes.
nanny. I'm trying to get her last name.
Yes. Maria Hernandez.
Maria Hernandez. Yes. I dropped my baby off with her before I went on my little vacay over the weekend.
She's with the nanny. Don't worry. Everything's cool.
I just got to go pick her up. Why are you guys tripping? So the police and the girl, by the way, the girl and the mom are not getting along in this scene. She's like, Mom, why are you talking to the cops? Jesus Christ. The kid's fine. She's like, no, everything's not fine. Mom and the daughter do not like each other.
They just about boxed
so
right there in the squad room.
Okay, they take Ashley to...
Ashley Walker.
This apartment who she says she dropped her daughter with, Maria the nanny. And they knock on the door. The lady who answers the door is not Maria Hernandez, and she's never
like,
seen
I've never
this
heard
baby.
of Maria. Who is Maria?
And they're like...
Hillary Duff is like, Bull, I know she's here. And she just like shoves her way
into the house, and she's like, where's my baby? Where's my baby?
And Hillary's like, excuse me, you can't go in my house.
Yeah, this is crazy, and you guys should actually all get out. And
yeah.
Cops are very confused, by this.
Yeah.
And she says, well, I've never actually been to this apartment before. Every time, Maria takes the baby, she picks her up from me. And so, maybe this is a bunk address. Oh my God, where's my kid? She really is missing, and the nanny must have taken her. We really got to find my kid. So an Amber Alert goes out. Now everybody's looking for the kid.
They're doing traffic stops. They are searching everywhere, high and low.
Yep.
They even stop somebody who they think might be the perpetrator with the baby. It turns out it's not
somebody
her.
Tells them that, they all go to this playground, and they do find a lady named Maria who has seen the baby, has never watched her, has seen the mom, and that's like their first clue. And then somehow...
there's a lady at the park who's like, oh yeah, I know Maria. She's absolutely insane. By the way, she's right there.
Yeah.
So they bring her down to the station to talk to her, to try to get a little bit more information out of her. But she's basically useless because she has no idea who they're talking about. And apparently, Ashley had stolen this girl's card.
Yeah, somehow, after they get done talking to the lady, she's like, oh my God, my card's missing, actually. And they run the activity on the card and find footage at some sort of hardware store.
Yeah, like a hardware store or
somebody
like that,
is purchasing on this stolen credit card a tarp and a shovel. And then they really get into this video, as Ashley begins telling lie after lie. They eventually zoom in on this low-quality security video and realize that Ashley, the mom, is the purchaser of the shovel and the tarp. The police are real suspicious.
And they have pictures, and they're showing them the pictures of her in the hardware store, and she's like, that's not me. That's not me. It's clearly her face in there. It is clearly her face. So they go talk to the dad.
I talked to the dad who allegedly, got these birthday gifts of a tarp and a shovel. And he goes, well, actually, if the baby is missing, my daughter must have had something to do with it. He's already very suspicious of the circumstances. And they're like, well, what about that shovel? He's like, she did give me that shovel. No, it wasn't my birthday. And I could tell it was already used. And Stabler goes to run that sample.
But the thing is it's a very common sample, so they have to narrow it down.
Yeah. They're interrogating Ashley. She's constantly lying. She doesn't know where her daughter is, and they dig into her social media. They're looking for clues everywhere they can find them. And she's partying. They've got concerns about that. And then they just, where are we going to go with this? What do we do? They talk to the dad one more time. He goes there asking the father if on, a map of the area, they assume the baby's close. Can you point out anywhere you've ever taken your daughter, anywhere you've ever hung out with your daughter? And he points to this area on a map. And Stabler goes there with the forensic team. Guess what they find? A little baby and a little tarp. And, you know, Dad didn't actually get the tarp for his birthday.
Yeah,
like
he got
she
the
said.
shovel, but there was no tarp.
And the baby is dead. And, you know, Ashley has already been arrested for child neglect at this point. They're sick of the lies. The story does not make any sense.
No, it
While they're
doesn't.
searching for this baby, they detain her. She's actually being arraigned for her neglect charge. During arraignment, you know, Cabot gets a text message and says, you know, you're going to have to add a murder charge to this because we just found the baby. They give her that charge, but that is before the medical examiner has a chance to examine the baby's body.
Yep.
And when the medical examiner examines the baby's body, she finds out the cause of death was actually the measles. And that's where the story takes a turn, and they get into the whole measles thing. At the end of this episode, they strike a deal with her and tell her that if she just acutes and says what she did, they'll lessen the charge. They're withholding the fact that they know that the baby died of technical natural causes, but the mom admits everything that happened. She thought she spanked her baby too hard from crying, from having a fever the night before.
Yeah.
She thought she
might have hit the baby too hard.
She was sure. She's like, all right, bring it.
She's
you know,
like, I did it. Oh my God.
I hit it.
I'm
I'm sorry.
a
I just didn't.
Holy shit.
I deserve to go to jail. And they're like, actually,
it was an
she
accident.
died of the measles.
It was measles.
But we'll start your counseling and all the stuff you agreed to in your deal tomorrow.
They made her go to rehab. They made her do 500 hours of community service, and they made her enroll in weekly therapy and alcohol treatment programs.
Yep. That was the deal, which seemed like a sweet deal for possibly murdering your child.
Your kid. But Cabot then says, I'm giving you the opportunity to grow up. She gets off.
The mom was so okay. You know, Law and Order puts that spin on. You know, they had like a resolution to what this mirrors, which is the Casey Anthony trial, and of course there were a lot of similarities, like dead ass similarities.
Oh yeah,
from
quite
case
a few
to episode,
and we will get there in just a minute. The case. This is going to be the Caylee Anthony case because this is about Caylee, our poor little baby Caylee. All right, she goes missing. Grandma finds out she's missing for 31 days. Flips shit, loses all of her marbles, calls 911 immediately.
Finds out she's been missing after her car is returned to her smelling like a dead body.
So she calls 911. She calls 911 3 times before they actually come and pick up.
She's hysterical on the recording. She's like, poor grandma is freaked out. I mean, rightfully so.
And later in the trial, when they try to use that against Grandma, she claims that the reason why she said that is because she was trying so desperately to get anybody over there for the direness of the situation, if you will.
That's how she had to make it look important.
Casey keeps saying she's with Zanny the nanny. Okay, I just want to point something out here real quick. Anybody who knows anything about a street drug called Xanax, it has another name, which is also referred to as Zanny. Zanny the nanny.
I knew that the second that broke in the case.
Throwing that out there. The nanny has her. So the police are like, take us to her. All the way out to the apartment building where she claims that Zanny the nanny lives. And she goes, well, I tried calling. I tried going and picking her up. Nobody's there. They disconnected their phone. That's why it's been 31 days. I was afraid that she was going to do something to hurt Caylee, so I didn't want to call the cops. I was just really scared. But this is where she is, and nobody was there when they got there.
Yeah.
No one was
there.
So
I just kind of waited around for her, and then I started checking some familiar spots in the next couple days to where she might be. And then I just went to my boyfriend's house.
For the rest of the flippin' time. And Casey says that she met Zanny at Universal Studios where Casey was working as an event planner. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, really? You were working at Universal Studios. So one day, they didn't even tell Casey where they were going. They're just like, you know what? We're just going to bring her here and see what the hell happens because we know this chick is lying. And she winds up being able to talk her way past security, even though security has never heard of her, nor any of the bosses that she says that she's working under.
That she's listed.
Nobody. But she winds up getting through the gates on a technicality. Well, they go into the Universal Studios and they're like, we want to see your office. She gets in the building and can't find her way through the building and eventually finally admits that she never worked there. They're like, yeah, we know. So let's go and talk some more. So finally, they keep putting the heat on her to get out this search team. Mind you, this search team pay for it. Like, it costs a lot of money to call out this search team.
It's travel money to get there. They have tons of resources that they are putting up to
a lot of people donate to this cause, and it's donation money. And long story short, at the end of all this, they sued Casey Anthony to get some of that money back. Casey Anthony is arrested at this point.
Yes.
But however, she makes bail and she gets out. But while she's on bail, the community is outraged. They're like, how the hell are you going to let that CUNT out of jail? So they go up to her house, they vandalize the house, this, that, and the fourth. Casey's so scared. During that time, she hires the best lawyer you can at the time, which was Jose Baez. Their game plan wasn't revealed until the day of the trial started. Okay, so they did do an examination of the trunk. They did this gas reading of the trunk to see if there was a dead body, which had never been used in court before, and Jose Baez knew that and tore that to shreds in court. This was the first time this man had ever testified in court. The doctor who testified for this test, it was his first time, and he made sure that the jurors knew that, and he also made sure to let the jurors know that it was pretty much junk science. But also, when they found Caylee's remains, she had a piece of duct tape on her mandible. Her bottom jaw was still completely intact, even though it was graded all the way down to bone. There was no flesh whatsoever. There's nothing holding on your jaw when all that's gone. So her jaw was still on, and that's the reason why they ruled it a homicide, is because there was no reason in the world that duct tape should be there unless she was murdered. There was also debate about that. There was no DNA on the duct tape on the outside or the inside, suggesting that it was on it, because if you put it on your mouth, it will be on the inside, and the person who put it on her mouth, their DNA would be on the outside. Mind you, she was submerged underwater, left out in the elements in the Florida sun. It could have been washed away, but there was no DNA, which is another thing that the defense used. Once Caylee was reported missing, the 31 days, they didn't say exactly how long, but a couple months later, they wound up finding the remains of Caylee about a half-mile away from the Anthony home.
An electric worker and ended up seeing a human skull like 20 feet down an embankment. It was
He used
pure
a
miracle.
stick, and this is very important. He used the stick to put in the eye socket to lift it up to see what it was. Now, this means the crime scene was contaminated, and Jose Baez did use that as well. He claimed that Casey was raped and she was raised a lie. She was raped by her father. All that was crap. Also, there was high levels of chloroform in the trunk, along with decomposed remnants, and they thought that Casey had chloroformed Caylee, put her in the trunk, and had killed her that way. But the defense said that Caylee had drowned in the family pool, and Casey had panicked, and George, Casey's father, came out and helped dispose of the body. However, George claims that he was not involved whatsoever and claims that he has never sexually abused his daughter. However, anybody who's a sexual predator always says they're not, so there's that. However, what I think happened, Zanny the nanny, I think that this is a regular thing for Casey to drug Caylee. I think what happened to Caylee is she accidentally overdosed her on Xanax, and that baby accidentally died in the trunk of that car, and she didn't know what to do. She rode around for days, if not weeks, with that poor child's body in the back of her car before dumping her in the woods about a half-mile away from her house. And the reason why Casey Anthony got off is because the jury could not make the connection. How did Caylee die? Where did Caylee die? When did Caylee die? The prosecution couldn't answer any of these questions. They left it up to the jury to imagine what had happened, but they just couldn't do it. However, the picture that Jose Baez painted, the jury could visualize. They could see that happening, and all of the evidence that was presented at trial was all circumstantial evidence, and that's another reason why Casey Anthony walked. The comparison.
This compares not as on point as our previous one, which was dead on. But there are, from the beginning of the episode, dead on, Grandma comes to the police, freaking out, says the baby's missing, the smell in the car. They say it's rotting pizza. The Law and Order episode says it's rotting meat. The mom and the daughter are instantly fighting when the police become aware of the situation.
Which is also true in real life.
Basically, to split up the mom and the daughter, they immediately go to the nanny's house. The nanny is a Latin lady, name picked out of a hat.
Yes.
And,
Zanny the nanny.
Zanaya Gonzalez.
Zanaya Gonzalez, yes.
Maria Hernandez.
And then Maria Hernandez.
I don't know why, but
which
that's also
is,
a similarity.
Which
That's
is
what it
also an imaginary person.
Right.
That person never
They
existed.
go all the way up to an imaginary-ass apartment, and when they strike out there, they go back to the family's
Back
house.
to
The
the
dad,
family.
with a tail between his legs and his head down, not hating on his daughter, doing it as best as he can to protect her, but head down, police, y'all. I'm just very sure this girl has something to do with the disappearance of our granddaughter. You should really investigate that. Love my daughter. I'm so sorry I said that, but it's just the facts. And that's the same in the case as it is in real life.
And I mean, we don't know how Caylee died, but it's possible that she did die by drowning in the pool or of natural causes.
In real
Yeah,
life,
you never
nobody
know.
will know. Mother
Dumped the
dumped the body. Yes.
got rid of the body, and they didn't have to serve any significant
they
jail
didn't have
time.
to. Exactly, that's the way to put it.
Yeah.
They didn't have to serve any.
They were both in
significant
jail
time.
for the crimes, but they weren't in for very long. I just want to say real quick that this affects me because my child, my little baby girl, is the same age right now as Caylee Anthony was when she passed away. My daughter even somewhat looks like Caylee Anthony. And for a mother to do what she did, it is just despicable. It is just disgusting. I can't imagine doing something like that. My daughter is the biggest blessing I've ever gotten my entire life. And things like this really hit close to home for me because I feel like that could be my child. Like if somebody did that to my child, I'm sorry, but you are next, and I will laugh and brag about it all the way to my jail cell. Hashtag not sorry. Just saying. Anyway. So, I know I'm rambling. So I'm going to stop rambling, and I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And I'm Jamie. And we are the SVU Sisters. We'll see you next Sunday. Bye.
No,